the
Live streaming is on.
so I'm going to share the link in the TE Commons Discord channel and also in the Jitsi chat for our little agenda. Oops, I don't want that. And we're going to start out with a fun, starter just to get everyone talking. And we did this values exercise last week where we kind of tried to brainstorm some good values for the Token Engineering Commons. And so this starter is actually to get us thinking about how well we're following these values. I know I broke some values this week and also upheld some. And so that's the question, is to share one value you lived up to. We'll say this week actually instead of today, so you can think about it a little bit broader, and one that you haven't. The values that came up for the Token Engineering Commons were that we operate from a pro-social, human-centered perspective, that we hold ourselves to high standards of safety, resilience, and integrity, that we encourage our members to be radically open source, non-hierarchical, creative, transparent in their intentions, and accountable for their actions, and that we are value-driven, not profit-driven, and will strive to support token engineering projects that appreciate the value of public goods and ethical, inclusive economic systems. So I can say, and so to model this actual starter, I can say that one value that I lived up to this week was just kind of dreaming about token engineering for a pro-humans centered perspective using the ample rebase method. I kind of had a couple hours of ranting with Nick Johnson and a few other people on Twitter discussing how to use a rebasement type cryptocurrency as a UBI project, and trying to get them to understand it's not about making money for UBI, it's about spending money for people who need to spend money. But then it was really easy to share one value I didn't live up to this week, which was being value-driven, not profit-driven, and supporting projects that appreciate ethical economic systems. I was all over those yams this week. The yam thing was wild, and I was all about it. It was pretty fun, and it definitely wasn't a safe situation. So I don't feel like that was fully supporting the values of Token Engineering Commons. I will pass it to Livia. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So I'll share in a more personal perspective, just to open that for everyone too, if you want to get personal. And one value that I lived up to today was creativity. I wrote a song this morning, and one that I didn't live up to was being full accountable of myself. I did say that I was going to do things that I didn't do. So, yeah, that was one. And I'll pass to Cyprian.
Do we have that list of values? Where it is again?
Oh yeah, it's in the call agenda. I actually put it in this Google Doc that I put as a link in the chat, in both the Discord chat and the Jitsi chat. But we can pass it to someone else if you need to think about it for a sec.
All right, got it. So the one thing I did right was, I think, being transparent, because it was pretty clear that I was not going to reach everything that I said I was going to do. So I was like, yeah, not going to happen. But on the thing that I think I could do better, actually, it's a question that I have. It's the radically open source thing. Is it better to, because I'm working on some stuff and I'm like, should I open source them even if they're like, they're half-baked, like just some notions of that? Or is it better to come up with some full idea and then share it? And what is the best way to do it? Because people don't want to land on the draft and don't understand anything, just some rumblings about different stuff. They kind of want to arrive in a structured environment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the actual process of creation should be open source by itself. So yeah, that was one of the things that I was not sure about that this week.
Do you want to pass it to someone?
Oh yeah, of course. So it's going to be Shebnem.
Okay. So just an opinion. Yeah, just do it, and then you don't have to advertise it. But you know, people who might need you to find you and to help you actually, and also can take the creative chaos in the beginning, might find your way. You know. So values I could uphold. I think transparency and opening up. Yeah, and let me check. Like, are we? Do we also value like bringing people together? I try to do this more or put more effort in it. I don't know if I succeeded, but definitely try. Yeah, I encourage. Definitely non-hierarchical. Yeah, that happened. That just happened. And I have a question, of course. Does it backfire? Like people want structure, and I know they come in and like tell me what to do, but at the same time, we want to co-create with peers, right? And then getting the feedback that it needs more structure, but maybe also people helping to structure it better. I think that's the way. Value that I didn't uphold. Hey, I don't know. Yeah. I didn't do anything bad. I was like, yeah, no, cannot remember. It was already very exhaustive to actually try and be radically open source. It consumed me all.
Nice. So then you can call on someone else.
Yeah, try 1 second. Going back. Lorelai or Loy? Yeah.
Yes,
How
I
do
am.
I pronounce your name? Yeah,
You
sorry.
said it right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you said both of them right. And I'll take either. So good job. This week, well, I actually exhibited some rare antisocial behavior for myself. Tried to like decenter from humans as much as I could, and went hiking alone in the woods. Totally anti-human, antisocial. But I think it'll make me a better pro-social person in the long run. And then I think a value that I did do a good job of meeting this week was the radically open source and transparent value. I was working with some OneHive folks on moving our Common Stack DAO to XDAI, and we are writing up a little guide and going to publish it so that it's easier for other people who are dealing with expensive gas to do so. Yeah, and Angela, have you gone?
Yes. Thanks. I was also wondering, did I do anything bad in this sense? Okay, I think to be radically open source or encourage others was a big topic for me this week, because I was wondering what open source means for the Token Engineering Academy, for infrastructure and also for what we are doing. And I think on the, let's say, I had a similar question like Shebnem, what does non-hierarchical mean? and what does structure mean? So I think that's actually a really interesting question for TE Commons perhaps as well. Because I realize that a lot of the things that are happening at the moment are driven by people who just take action, which in a sense is establishing hierarchy, because if you're really fast and can keep up with all information, then you'll have a say. And if not, then perhaps not that much. And I'm still wondering, I mean, on one hand, this is good because actually it is about making progress and creating results. And on the other hand, I'm wondering if this is a good development overall, no matter what activity we are talking about. Yeah, so how to really bring this non-hierarchical approach to life? This is my question at the moment, or what I'm thinking about here.
I think Dan's the
That's it.
last
Anybody
person.
missing?
I think Dan still has to go.
Okay.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Dan, pretty new here. And thanks for having me on board and being involved at this early stage for me, but you guys are fully more into this and have been engaged in this in a much longer time. So as a beginner, I think coming across and just being open to learning, like open to the values and to absorbing all of this new information, that's something that I've sort of upheld, I suppose. And on the other side, I suppose that then I've been, just one side that I haven't really upheld in sort of terms of the values, I suppose, is like consistency of communication across all of the rest of the channels in my life. You know, sometimes you get involved in things and it takes quite a lot of heavy load and a heavy burden, and you get involved, and then other parts, you know, go by the wayside. I suppose that's where we're at the moment. So yeah, thanks again for having me, and I look forward to carrying on learning a lot from you guys and contributing wherever I can.
Nice, thanks, Dan. Great. Well, it looks like we have a lot of very value-oriented people. Well done, guys. So just to start this off, this is our first weekly sync. We're probably going to keep it on this time, even though there's like 3 token engineering events right after each other. So it's a little bit of a marathon. But I think for now, at least, unless we have some major objections, we'll probably just keep it at this time every week. And the goal is to have a roadmap of what we are trying to accomplish each week during, and then that this weekly sync will kind of be the place where we present what we accomplished and then venture on to the next step. And then we kind of have these weekly steps that we move one at a time closer and closer to actually launching this bad boy. So to kind of recap what we did last week and the week before, we went over the vision and values and mission, and actually code of conduct happened as well, as Cyprian and Livia went wild with it during the week. So we made a lot of progress. And we also made some decisions. And one of the things that I hope to talk about at the beginning here is how do we make decisions in this group, because it's a difficult thing. Group decisions usually it's almost like an oxymoron in some ways, right? Group decisions are very difficult to have. So we had some success with emoji voting a little bit. And that helped it, and also having kind of an appointed person who made decisions. I kind of ended up taking it on for the vision and the values, basically, and just saying, okay, it's done, and saying that it was good. But that's not, I don't feel like it's a great decision-making process, and I'd be curious to hear if anyone has any ideas about how we make decisions on the upcoming processes, specifically when is the mission and code of conduct done, and how do we decide? Does anyone have any ideas or opinions on this about how we could best make decisions, and specifically for deciding when the mission statement is done and the code of conduct is done?
Should we all agree on that? Like have an actual kind of vote with all the people in the T Discord or T Telegram? I don't know, like, because I feel like we are all working on a lot of different stuff, and it's very good because we have a lot of creativity going on, and I think we are going very fast on different projects. But at the same time, I guess it's kind of important to reach kind of a consensus with everyone, being like, yes, we are all on the same page, and there is not someone coming in, I don't know, like in 2 weeks, coming up and saying, oh, this is bullshit, you guys did, this is not worth it, we should stop this experiment right now, and I don't think T should be that, token engineering is a different beast, and this is how I see it, and then we are kind of, okay, so should we do a review, should we do an update? So I guess by having everyone consent and everyone approval, then we can move to the next phase. And I would not rush to do it, because we really need to have that support and that like 100% kind of approval of everyone, so that we're all on the same page.
Also one opinion. So definitely one thing that takes off the pressure, or took off the pressure, is when Griff reminded that actually we are going to review these again and again and again, right? The more we moved, right? So that's something. Nonetheless, of course, I want the things that we put out there at the very least make sense, for myself. And then if someone comes in and says like, this phrase or this whole thing doesn't make sense for me at all, and I feel very strongly about, that's when we should discuss it. So there is from IETF, the more like hacker coder culture, things like the way they say it, rough consensus and running code. We could have something similar, like rough consensus and actual quality content that we said we want to put out there, and we're putting out there. And rough consensus means you don't have to have a majority vote, but if someone comes in and says, I oppose this, that we actually make room to be able to listen to what they oppose to, and also be specific about. And then the rest, I don't know, literally, what do you do with that opposition? You ask whether more people feel like this, or is it just one singular voice, and how badly they are affected. Again, this is going towards conviction, and conviction vote kind of ability to differentiate. The problem is, as long as we don't have the tools, we need to be pragmatic, right? At the same time, trying to actually make those differentiations also pushes pressure on us to get the tooling straight.
I like the rough consensus versus running code. It's an interesting distinction, and I think it's related to what I wanted to bring up, is using like I love this, I'm super in support of it, I'm okay with this proposal, I wouldn't block it, and I'm blocking this, as kind of like the three ways to like signal on anything, and really like making sure that it's like a proposal-based decision-making process. Like at the very most basic, like we could choose tools to use, like I love Lumio, but whatever. At the bottom line, like it's really helpful that, in order for a decision to be made, there has to be a clear proposal and a chance for people to either agree with it, not block it, or block it. And so like using that, is it safe enough to try question, which I think is kind of like a similar distinction between rough consensus and like running code is something that you would like want to publish and push out to the world, right, Shebnam? Something that everybody's super in support of versus like, we're okay with this.
Yeah. So let's take a good like practical example. We have to decide on the mission, and like Shebnam said, we are the vision, mission, and we'll talk about the roadmap in a second. But we're going to come back after we've done some actual work on what it takes to pull this thing off, and then come back and make sure that maybe we have to compromise some pieces of our mission that we just can't achieve, or maybe now that more people are involved who are actually working on it, that the vision is somewhat changing. And so nothing that we set in stone, especially on mission, vision, and long-term goals, those will never be set in stone because we'll always be able to come together as a community and tweak them. But they're very influential. And so it is good that we have some rough consensus on them. I mean, it is what will attract people here. But we have a specific thing, like we have 2 versions of the mission right now, one with lots of bullet points and one that's short. And then once we decide, I kind of feel like once we decide between one of those strategies, then we're going to want to tweak the innards of it. And what is the best way to say this is good enough to be done? Okay, maybe the blocking neutral versus love it is instead of having 1 or 2 options, having like the third option is really smart for the votes. But then how do we even get to the point of a vote? Like having one person hold the flag, or maybe are there other strategies? Anybody have any ideas?
I think it would be helpful to know how many people we need to express their opinions to feel like it's enough. And also the rough vote is very helpful, but then it implies that everyone is paying attention to what is happening in the chat. And I just wanted to get a sense if this is what's happening, or if there's other ways to grab people's attention.
So actually, some things that really didn't come up until someone else said again that there was an upvote, downvote in the chat. So maybe we could have these decisions once or every Thursday or something like this, or say, okay, these are the things that we need to vote on now. And then at the very least, after the call, it's done, that, once a week at the very least, we get to that draft consensus. I don't know if it's practical.
Maybe that's really a good idea, because I think the major problem here is not that people don't want to vote. It's also not that they don't have any opinion. It's the first challenge is to keep everybody posted and give the opportunity to process all information required. And at least if you know, okay, we have, let's say, a regular structure of casting votes, then I think it's making people who are interested to contribute or to have a say, it's easier and more accessible.
Yeah. So okay, I have a proposal, a concrete proposal, that for anything that needs to be, like, every time something needs to be decided by the group for the week, that, like, because it kind of really is at this stage just making decisions, right? We're not deploying code or anything. That's really how we move the move the markers in football, whatever those things are called. I should know this, I'm American. Anyway, so if we have, my proposal is that if we have one person that's kind of appointed to be kind of the cat herder for making this decision, like, I would just say, okay, you're the person who needs to go get everyone's advice and input here, and make sure that we have a well-rounded result. Every week, we just kind of appoint someone to any decisions that need to be made. And then, because like I had a lot of success when I go and individually ping someone, you know, and ping them in Discord, hey, vote in this doodle, right? Hey, da 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 da. And you just kind of gotta go out there, and just posting in the channel doesn't really do it. So maybe appointing one person, making sure they have, you know, at least the people who are in the call that week, like, you know, everyone but one of them vote or give some opinion, like hunt them down. And then
That's my problem. For example, although I do value this, and I don't know how you do it, Chris. How do you herd all of these people? But wouldn't it? So, you know, and then I'm just thinking, okay, if it's my turn? It's like the turnout will be 4 people, because that's how much I could run after stuff like this, you know. So if someone can do that, this is so valuable, and, you know, keep doing it. But if we had the alternative that people know, it is a protocol, like we are doing stuff and you are in token engineering community, you are vested, right? Because you're going to get the stuff out of it that you need as a token engineer. Show up every Thursday, or at least ask what's there to decide. You know, we need that proactivity. If you don't have proactivity, again, that's what I'm saying. Okay, then if you don't have that proactivity, then we don't have the community yet, right? Then maybe we need to go and then fix something else, or have multiple glyphs, or you tell us your magic, so we can do that as well. Yeah, but that would be, for example, if that was our only strategy, I know I would fail utterly at it. For example, just being very truthful.
Yeah. Well, what if it's my job to do the cat herding, but other people's job to tell me what to say?
Oh, sure.
Like I am a community organizer. This is a role that I take, right? I'm not a token engineer. I'm a fake token engineer, that's for sure. But I'm a real.
We're all fake token engineers.
Okay. Well, that's encouraging. But I am a real community organizer. So
Cool.
I can, and Livia is as well. So, you know, between the two of us, but we might not be the best people to make the final call on what is done, you know?
Yeah. So one suggestion there, and that was actually from this, you know, currency potluck, and thinking how to use it for the book or just test it out. These roles, you know, you define a role that you're going to take over, and then you say what is it that you offer in that role, and most importantly, what you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you say, okay, I'm going to, you know, herd the people, and you can count on me for doing that, but then I need every Thursday what's on the table, literally others taking care that, you know, what's on the agenda, putting that together, etc. And then we can find those roles and who can fulfill them. And then also seeing that, hey, we don't have just one person, but multiple taking care of that specific. That's actually a nice list to have also for us, I think.
Yeah. We have, and so this brings to
to the next point.
Yeah, exactly. Roles is on the roadmap, and you know, I feel bad because I don't really want to move on until we have a clear path towards how we're going to make a final decision, or a temporary final decision on the mission and code of conduct. But I think maybe I could just propose that I go and gather feedback.
Yeah.
And ping everybody, including people who we don't see in the calls, to see if they want to give some feedback on the mission and the code of conduct. And then does anyone want to be like the final arbiter of incorporating those feedbacks for either of those things?
I kind of oppose that idea because I feel like it's like Shebnan said, that it doesn't incentivize people to be proactive and that maybe it would be more effective to have one day that everybody can commit in one time. Like we have these calls every Thursday, maybe Friday could be the day of decision, and you're all expected to have a vote until, I don't know, Friday night. And then that's the decision. And if there's any opposition to the decision made, then we can have another round or something like that.
I
Yeah.
also think that, may I?
Yeah.
I think that, okay, basically we need two decisions. One is, are we decision ready? This is the
Exactly.
first one. And the second one is then taking the decision for whatever is on the table. And I think we can combine both. So I think I like the idea of having, let's say, a certain day in a week. Perhaps it's good to have it on Friday so that if people have questions, they can ask it in the call, but then have a certain deadline where we, until when we collect votes, and the first vote is on decision ready, majority yes, then we go to the next step, which is then immediately cast your vote, or immediately after, until the second deadline. And those two deadlines are always the same deadline. So if anybody wants to take part, he or she is able to take part. I think what's complicated or feels complicated pretty much every time in early stage is you feel like, oh, you don't have all the voices heard, or you feel like there aren't that many people contributing. And this was also what I was asking you, Griff, in our conversation. But then actually one thing was really important to me. Okay, it's an ongoing process, right? It's not the final word on whatever values, mission, and maybe future questions. It's not the final word. We will pick it up again and we will refine it. And I think that relieves a lot of the pressure on, oh, did we really ask everybody? Because if that's the deal, we have the Friday votes. If you want to have a say, look at it and take part, then it's just the majority of people who voted. And that's it, at least for the moment. And there will be a situation where we find it all not satisfying anymore, and then let's change it.
Okay. I really like that. Decision ready, vote, and then vote. Like, I think that makes it a lot easier.
And then majority of just people contribute or taking part in the voting, right?
Mhm.
Or, yeah?
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I mean, if we have 3 people, then it might be like the neutrals just don't count, or, well, I don't know. So there's this is the debate on voting, right? There's can one person block it? And if that's the case, then it's like, it's really, are we looking for rough consensus as in no one's blocking, or are we looking for majority yes, no?
I would hear the block, or at the very least that we say, okay, what are you opposing exactly? And what is your suggestion? How to improve? And then the big question is, okay, now we ask, what do we do with that? So maybe that could be also formulated in a way that others can say, okay, actually that I didn't see that point and now I see it, and people vote that in. Yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, literally, if we say we will be revisiting these, and then also we will have at some point better tooling, we should go with what is super practical at the moment. And as long as no one is really feeling literally hurt by a word or something, or they say, hey, I would be ashamed if you put those words together on a web page. I think we're okay.
And also, and also, I guess the question of is anybody blocking it might be raised in the first decision. Are we decision ready? And once somebody is blocking the decision, then obviously we are not decision ready. And but
That's
once
good.
we
Yeah,
voted on we are decision ready, then it's yes and no.
that's good. That would make things clearer, and that then we wouldn't have these going back and forth and so on
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
forth. Yeah.
Because I think people are going to get tired of like having to make decisions on stuff that are not very following. So I guess it's better to reach a point where we're like, oh, you just have to take one decision right now. You just please read that, make sure that you understand. We can spend a full week or more answering your questions, your doubts, responding to feedbacks and comments, etc. But then we all vote on that and we all agree on that and we can move on. Because if we start doing that iterative process, then maybe the first time everyone will be available to vote and to read, etc. But on the next iteration, we'll already lose like half of the people, at least. So, and I think it's a super good point to ask, are we decision ready? And I don't think we are currently, because what we should have is like this body of documents and with all the different stuff that is very clear and very well mapped out. And I mean, at least in kind of this working group, we all agree on that. And then we're like, okay, this is ready to be kind of public in a sense, even if it's all like open source and public, but to be pushed towards everyone saying like, this is what we think. Now it's the time to give us your feedback, your honest feedback, and it would just happen once. And of course, as we've said, like the reality is that it's an ongoing process. It's never going to be finished. It's never set in stone. We are going to do like an infinite number of iterations, but the reality is that at one point we need to have a version 0. And to land that version 0 is the end of that full process where we need to ask just once for people for their collaboration, because otherwise we'll never get to a point where we are able to engage everyone constantly for, I don't know, like 2-3 weeks, 1 month, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, so the maybe one step we are missing at the moment, or perhaps it's only my mistake, is that we have the one place to go to look at everything. So the mission and the values and whatever. And so this is the proposal for a decision. And you say, let's collect it finally and then have a final vote. Okay. What I now realize listening is what we are not having at the moment is that we know what's the consequence of a voting, right? So this should be also included. For example, no worries, we will come back to that, I don't know, every second month or every month, whatever, and any refinements we need can be made. So this is not set in stone. Would be one thing to then add to the values and whatever is to vote on. Second one is because you say, okay, we will publish it. I think it would be good to be transparent on what we are doing with it. For example, is this kind of a working document, or are we already taking decisions at the moment based on the vision and the mission, or are we going to publish a website, or are we going to raise funds based on that? I think that's also an important part, to have this full perspective, to be able to vote, and also to provide all information necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the part where I feel like there needs to be a champion of a vote, or a champion of a push, someone who's going to like make sure that it goes from this stage to like done and voted on, you know, and there's feedback on there. But I think we're gonna have to continue this discussion. Or go ahead, Lorelai.
Well, I just wanted to clarify that majority rule is the actual like decider in this group, right?
Majority in the final vote.
Yeah.
But I think those 3 options, I'm super happy with it. I'm okay with it. And I want to block it for the voting on, are we decision ready?
Okay.
So wait,
Or-
so majority vote on decision ready, and then blocking vote on
No.
the
No,
the
it's
other way.
around.
The other way.
The other
Okay.
I think it's a strong, this is a very like strong, that's the main part of like the decision process, right? Is like, do we integrate people's dissonances, or if they are smaller than the majority, do we just ignore them? So it's good to have that clear. And from what I can see with the emoji voting in the chat, it looks like majority rule is what's being used here, but that should just be clear and, like,
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we only have 15 minutes left. So I want to, I'm going to have to figure out the mission stuff a little bit later. And we got to dive into the roadmap because I want to take like 5 minutes for everyone to kind of quietly make comments in the roadmap about things that can change and things that can get better. I will paste the roadmap here. And there. And so just read the roadmap and where we are now and where we're planning on going. I actually already made a suggestion for changing what we do next week than compared to what was planned. And I bet that there's a lot more suggestions. So please just kind of read through this. The one thing I want to, I guess, preface is that working groups is kind of general. We'll need to identify all the different working groups, legal, financial, maybe like actually deploying like the technical requirements and defining the spec. Like we will define these different working groups and then set them off to do their work. But so like there's no mention of legal, there's no mention of these things, but those will be topics of working groups. So this is the plan. Please
Cool.
make comments. Yeah.
I have a question with respect to, for example, so from SourceGrid, basically we picked up this initiatives thing, just to put a name on what we're doing, right? And I don't see that in the roadmap. Is it something like because you say, okay, we're gonna, retire this way of working once we have the working groups, and then obviously I'm more of the duocracy kind of thing. Like if people want to have an initiative because they, want to pour their heart and blood and sweat into it, I would always say let them do, and then and if others can support, they shall support. And that can happen anytime, and that should happen anytime because, yeah, okay, cool. Okay, that was it then.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like that's these initiatives might be something part of the agreements and documented on like section. But yeah.
Or can you tell me what was it behind working groups define how to build the commons? Or we had this also that was just a quick exchange, but I think that was something behind that. Like what is the commons, like the decision making and the organization and the funding of efforts, or is it commons that the things that we produce and create as infrastructure and the knowledge base for the token engineering community?
Ooh, I don't understand what you mean, Shabnam. Are you talking about September? What's labeled September 3rd?
No. Yes. Now I see it's yeah. It's not next step. Sorry.
Okay.
Just wondering how you envision this might work, because at the moment I think that the challenge is that we have roughly 10-ish people taking part in the process so far, and I personally couldn't provide any additional time to working groups, apart from if it has a strong overlap to the academy. And so, but maybe there is a different plan. For example, okay, first raise some money, then create bounties, and then these bounties are distributed to the working groups, for example, to onboard more people to contribute and to take part at the working groups.
This is actually exactly, I made a comment on creating something for next week along those same lines. I was thinking very similar, that we should probably figure out some sort of incentive alignment for the people who put in the work to make this a reality, and have that defined before we say, hey, working groups, go start doing stuff. And I think that there's lots of different solutions to doing that. I was thinking maybe basically just giving people a percentage of the hatch tokens that are made, like, you know, but I think that there's an opportunity to debate a few different options. And I was hoping that maybe we do that next week.
Got it. Yeah, I think this makes perfect sense. I think we have a similar challenge in the reviews group. At least some room for maneuvering for the academy, but I think without also providing information, okay, that's what's in it for you, it's hard to just convince people to take part in and contribute in working groups.
Yeah, definitely. So next week, my proposal was to move roles to after agreements and basically push the working groups back a week and add an incentive alignment call.
And by the way, I won't be able to take part.
Oh, no.
Next week. But yeah, perhaps it's not only about me.
Yeah. Well, so did anyone else have any comments on this? I saw someone highlighting work begins, but then I didn't see any comments. Do we have all thumbs up on the roadmap, or other than maybe this one change of adding an incentive alignment call next week?
Can you say again in a sentence like what the incentive alignment call is going to entail?
Figuring out a way that we can reward the people who are putting in time and effort into this. I mean, basically, there are lots of options. We could just go do a Gitcoin grant and raise funds, which I hope that we do. But we could also decide to take a percentage of the hatch and give everyone vested tokens. We could decide to have a first proposal that pays people out some salary that we are keeping track of. We can. There's a lot of options.
So I have quite a strong opinion on that.
Wait, before we go into that, that's for next week.
Okay, but I'm not there the next 2 weeks. But the thing is, like, just, you know, I think it is enough to keep track of the contributions first. Let's not try to, or even if you try, you know, I think just a few bucks here and there is going to rather muddy the waters. In a sense, you know, maybe people are like, what? Just a few bucks, or, you know, instead, if we could focus on how are we going to keep track of contributions in a way that everyone feels, you know, motivated to just contribute what they want and can can actually they know that their contributions being kept track of, would be the utmost decision I would like us to take, and not, you know.
Okay, that's really.
Yeah, I mean, however however incentive alignment works out, like I hope that it works out well, because like, man, I mean, in my position, I'm just seeing that like the TEC has such an amazing opportunity right now. Like this is the timing for it. And I've just been shocked with the past couple of weeks, like in the Commons stack, like I manage kind of people who are coming in for potential donations. And it was like pulling teeth for a long time, to where I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then like, dude, as soon as we started hitting that like generous feeling market, it's like, oh my God, I had like so many people that I didn't even have time to deal with, who are like, want to be token holders, want to help launch Commons, want to give like tens of thousands of dollars. I'm like, where were you guys like a month ago? You know, like everybody's all of a sudden feeling generous. And so like, I really hope that like we can just get motivated, you know, in the next like month to really like make so much of this happen, because this market timing is going to be our best chance for this Commons to launch well.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. That's super cool to hear. But as said, I think, yeah, like in any case, we would need to keep track of the contributions. And when we start with that, and then, you know, if you have, or let me put it that way, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't stress too much about how we're going to fundraise via Gitcoin or this or that, but literally first, we're keeping track of your contributions, you know. And then next thing is, well, it's great if you can open it up and people see the value, especially because the contribs are already tracked and visible. Then I'm totally in line that it's a good timing, and what we have to offer here is also badly needed.
Okay, nice. Okay, so in the last 4 minutes, what I'd say is that for this week, the roadmap is still kind of under discussion, and so is mission and code of conduct. I'm hoping that we can have all three kind of solidified enough. Well, the roadmap actually pretty solidified. The other two will definitely be revised as we go by like Tuesday, so that we have time to, at least for the next week's call, that's got to be defined before Thursday, right? So yeah. So do you guys think that's reasonable, that we can, if I do some cat herding and I push the documents around to people, try to get some feedback, and then we actually have some votes on these things on Tuesday as opposed to Friday?
What's the reason for having it on Tuesday again?
Well, for the roadmap, we need to make sure that we agree that what we're going to do on Thursday.
Tomorrow is Friday.
Tomorrow is Friday. Yeah.
So we can have those decisions by tomorrow. Is it okay? No?
Oh, by tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow is Friday. The protocol is on right now.
Okay. Okay. So then.
And from the people here, like, does anyone doesn't say it should go to decision? I think we're decision ready.
What is decision ready for? What again? For the roadmap? For the mission?
No, for the stuff that we did. Yeah, mission and the code of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
I know Olivia did a bunch of changes to the code of conduct today, right?
Yeah, but I think for those things, I would also say we are ready to have a vote on, are we decision ready? And I would expect that we are ready, and then have a vote tomorrow.
Okay. And then roadmap on Tuesday?
I'm out for next week, so.
Oh, next week completely. Nice. Congrats.
Yeah. Thanks.
And also, so the roadmap, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's like, yes, it's high level, but it's a roadmap, so it keeps us on track. I think it's good, and until now it was super useful. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Helped
so
me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I will just be passing the roadmap around next week and if
Mhm.
anyone, and see if we can get some feedback. And it's probably not something that needs to be voted on or whatever. It's a working document. And,
Yeah.
And I can manage the roadmap, I guess, as like just a facilitator, right? And then for the mission and code of conduct, yeah, we vote tomorrow.
Cool. Yeah, I think we can definitely.
Livia, are you able to take on the voting for tomorrow? Because I'm actually in an airplane most of the day tomorrow.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, sweet. Okay, well, thank you guys. We're right on time. And I'm excited. I really appreciate that we spent some time talking about decision making. I don't know, we didn't come to a decision. Or we did come to a decision, I guess. So
We came very close.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. So that's
Cool.
That's pretty amazing.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Really
thank you guys. Another good call.
Cool, cool. Talk
Thank you.
soon. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Oh, hi, love.
Hi. Are we still live?
Yeah, we are. Let me stop that.